Step into the warm, messy, and wildly honest story of Merritt Ceramics, an Oakland pottery studio that started as two artists' corner workspace and grew into a bustling 6,000 square foot community hub on Park Boulevard. In this episode, we talk with founders Stephen and Anna about the moment a hobby became a business, the marketing membership moves that kept the classes full, how they navigated COVID, why they opened and later closed the supply shop, and the human lessons about asking for help, pivoting, and protecting culture. If you love behind the scenes small business stories, especially creative ones, this episode is for you. Today we're talking to Stephen and Anna from Merritt Ceramics. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Good. No, I'm glad to talk to you guys. You guys have an incredible story of this ceramic studio, which started out as a hobby, but you guys turned it into a business. And I think
Yeah.
that that's fantastic because I think there are a lot of people out there that can learn from that sort of just start doing projects as hobbies because they like the stuff and then realize hey, people will pay for this.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
so tell me, so what was your aha moment to become an entrepreneur? When was it that you figured out like this isn't a hobby, this is actually a business?
Yeah. For us, I feel like it. There were maybe a few moments, or maybe there wasn't one grand light bulb moment. But for us, I recall for me at our old location when it was a much smaller studio space, and we stepped back and looked at the space we had, and we had a dozen or so members that were using and sharing the space with us, and we had a few classes going at the same time, and we're like, whoa, this is a little community we've got going here, whereas it started as just a workspace for us.
And at the time you were still working a 9 to 5 job, right?
We we
Just
yes, we were practicing artists,
Mm.
ceramic artists, and we both happened to work in the service industry because Bay Area has tons of great restaurants and tipping culture is a thing. So we both were able to earn a lot of money that we just kept putting into our studio.
Mm.
So we were able to work on our own artwork during the day, and then we would go off to work at the restaurant in the evening, and then be able to try to get up early in the morning and get back into the studio.
That's cool. You were able to earn enough from the service industry and pour that into your hobby. As you said, at your old location, you had enough members in this community and they kept wanting more. Tell me a little bit more about that, how you created the community and how that turned into what you have now.
Yeah, that space we had, actually Anna originally and had as a workspace for her, and over time she reached out to me to say, "Hey, let's split this space and it'll reduce the rent for both of us." And that was the very first seedlings of the start of this, where we took that idea and said, "Oh, if we get somebody else, it'll help us alleviate some of the rent burden on us to have this art studio." And then gradually over time, the space itself grew because we started in this warehouse building that was a multi-purpose, multi-use type of space. So there was painters over here, woodworkers over there, and as we had more members to share the space with us and class, or what really started was we start kind of getting more pottery wheels so we could have larger lessons with bigger groups, and eventually it manifested into us being able to rent out additional rooms adjacent to the room we
We
originally
slowly
had.
took over.
Yeah,
Like
so
it.
next thing you know, we had 3 or 4 rooms with different, here's the hand building area, here's the wheel throwing area. And we're like, whoa, this is a thing now. Whereas initially it was just, I'm sure we got a old picture somewhere where it was like my corner was my wheel and a bunch of shelves. And it's gradually evolved over time in that space. I guess to the point where we grew out of the space itself. We had classes of students coming, and being a warehouse building in this sort of, I don't know, sort of industrial area made it hard for students to find the door. We didn't have running water in the building in our studio area, so there were certain challenges that made it less ideal for the community that helped evolve.
So we eventually needed to find an actual commercial space to be able to, if we wanted to go all in and open a studio.
Yeah,
So
I want to dig in a little bit on this concept of community because community is not just a collection of people, right? It is these folks came to you, liked what you were doing, kept coming back, kept telling other people, and it kept growing. These people believe in you and continue to believe in you. Tell me about that. How did you start that? How do you sustain that? What did you do? What's your secret sauce around that?
I think from the beginning, we really wanted a space. And at that time, we didn't really even know if we were going to have a studio, like a community studio, but we did want to have a space that actually represents Oakland. So, not something that just aesthetically looks cool, but something that really is like vibrant and colorful and shows the diversity of Oakland and to stay as close to that as we could. And so I think that's kind of a core thing that we had from the beginning, and then obviously being as welcoming and inclusive as we can. We also know that ceramics as a hobby and as an art form is can be very expensive because of all the costs that it goes to run a studio. So we know we wanted to be able to try to offer that to a range of people. So we started by offering free first Tuesdays. So every first Tuesday of the month, we'd open up our studio and have people come in and just play with clay for free. And that really brought people from all over into our little space. And I think that's really how it grew because we also wanted to connect with people and just share the love of the craft.
It sounds to me like this is something that would work great, like on a first date, right? Like you could go out and do something, like you could do something together and you can create them. Do you get many first dates or things like that?
We do. We we even have our even on Valentine's Day, because we know it's such a good date idea. You can come in and learn how to throw on the wheel
Interesting.
blindfolded, and you can do tandem throwing
Okay,
to get close to each other.
cool. And have you heard success if those first dates turn into second dates?
We should follow up.
Yeah, we're not sure. Yeah,
That should be a feedback
I'd
form.
like to think so. You
That's
know.
cool. That's cool. What did you do for marketing out of the bat, and what do you continue to do for marketing? What's your plan around that in terms of having people discover you?
Yeah, good question. I feel like when we started out, that kind of like steamroll that we experienced of having so many people interested in being a part or doing something with clay really reinforced our desire to keep the momentum going and keep expanding the studio or keep developing the studio itself. And as a result, in the beginning times, we used our Instagram, social media to some degree, and we found there was a really big demand in Oakland when we started the studio that lucky for us, we didn't have to commit a lot of time or energy or finances into the marketing dynamic. And we always look back at that time idyllically, like classes would sell out so fast back then, and people were chomping at the bit to get into a studio to get dirty.
hmm And was there anything pandemic related to your studio? Was there like, and I don't know, what year did you start it?
Oh, good question.
It's a good question. I think
20,
2017.
Okay, so you started
17.
before the
2016.
pandemic, and then during the pandemic, people couldn't get together. And so I assume there were some struggles there that I'd like to hear about. And then after the pandemic, was there like a rush back because people wanted to get back together?
Mm,
Yeah, pandemic was difficult for all of us. We
Forget how long. Fully closed
I
for.
know we were fully closed for a period of time. And then I think we opened up to our members. We had a lot of members actually that still stuck it through with us. They even kept paying their membership fee because they didn't want us to have to close down. We are so extremely grateful for that. And we eventually were able to open up just for our members. I think our excuse was that manufacturers can go back to work.
Mm.
So, as a ceramic studio, the artists that were working here are manufacturing. So we opened up for them. We did all the COVID safety things, all the table, you have your own table and stuff. So
we readjust everything.
We made it work the best we could, which allowed us to keep going, allow people some opportunity to still clay, especially during that time where everyone's trying to figure out what to do. It's nice to work with clay during that time. So that kind of got us through the really hard part of COVID. We crazily enough right after COVID opened up a supply shop because why not make things harder? But then because there was quite a big demand for supplies, like ceramic supplies, so like where you buy your clay, where you buy your tools. But the culture, because of COVID, changed for shopping. A lot of people want to buy things online and the convenience of that. So we didn't quite take that into consideration. So we had a supply shop right out of COVID, and then it shut down, unfortunately, about a year after. But keep on keeping on.
Nice. So, what would surprise somebody about running a ceramic studio? If you were at a cocktail party and someone said, "What do?" You say, "We run this ceramic studio," right? And we go, "Oh my God, that must be so much fun." What in your story would surprise them?
It's dirty and messy.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of the takes that we get are people think it's this fun, glorious thing where you're in a well-lit area and you're sensually throwing on the wheel or something. And it's messy and dirty, and we had to be there all the time and deal with stuff that we really didn't want to deal with, like businessy stuff that we know nothing about. So I feel like that was the less pleasant stuff is what comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that you had struggles with the sort of businessy aspects of this. Tell me a little bit about those struggles.
Yeah. I think the struggles in our instance is starting as artists and not business people. For example, we didn't have a business plan. Like most people have business plans and a clear pathway. We didn't. And so we really, I think that is a struggle in itself. I would say to maybe plan out better, but trying to figure things out. You're constant, even if we are business people, I think there's always going to be things that are difficult that you have to figure out and you have to do it on your own. We had like taxes, for example, no clue.
Yeah.
So we had to still figuring out the right thing to do for taxes, learning how to, when you start having employees, that's a huge thing that we never thought about having to the well-being of our employees and creating a place where our staff are taken care of and that in like a good environment. And by all means, there's so many mistakes we've made in our approach to managing people, and we only are trying to get better and better. But we never thought opening up a business, all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I have to learn how to manage people. So I think there's always struggles. There's struggles of customers that have expectations that we can't meet, and learning how to deal with those customers, trying to be balance of accommodating, but then also saying this isn't fair, this isn't good. So how do you deal with that? You sometimes make mistakes and you learn from them and you do better the next time. But yeah, there's a lot of hard things.
Yeah.
And what's the biggest lesson that you learned if someone came to you and said, "Hey, I'm not a business person. I'm an artist. I'm thinking about opening a business and I want to ask you for advice." And so, based on the struggles that you experienced, what would you tell them the top 1 to 3 things are that they should consider?
That's a great question. Let us think about that one.
What comes to mind is this idea where, we seem to constantly encounter things where we don't know what to do, we don't know how to navigate it, and we've gotten so accustomed to trying to investigate or figure out, kind of like self-educate ourselves on these things that we probably previously had no interest in before. Like now I'm like diving deep into tax stuff and business regulate, like whatever. It's like it's given me, I think both of us, some self-confidence of we can understand this and figure this stuff out, and it's not impossible, and there's resources that are out there that we can try to utilize that can help.
Think and going off that of being okay to ask for help and
Yeah.
ask questions. Like using taxes as an example, that is not our strong suit. So while we do as much as we can to figure those out, like we're gonna go ask people that
Mhm.
actually know how to do it
Right.
so that they can help us. So yeah, being able to ask and
Yeah.
help.
No, that's cool. I think that that's important because sometimes people don't realize that they need to ask for help. Like we almost always know if something is like physically wrong with me, I know I need to go to the doctor and I need to ask for help.
Yeah.
But that applies to everything, right? That you
Oh,
don't know about. You need to go ask an expert or somebody who knows more than you do. All right, cool. Um, so you are full-blown entrepreneurs, right? Did you ever think you would be?
Nah.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I even remember at other studios, people there would be like, "Oh, you're so comfortable in the community studio. You should go open your own studio." And I would be like, "No, no way. I want to make stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's not where my head's at."
All right.
And here we are, I guess.
Are there any habits that you have learned or developed that you think would be helpful to other entrepreneurs, someone out there that might be listening to this and thinking, I want to open my own studio or I want to start a business and hey, they did it, I can do it too. Is there any habits that you would suggest they have?
I would say to always be ready to
Mm.
change,
Mm,
to constantly to get comfortable changing. You create something and you put it out there, it's not going to stay the same forever. So be ready to constantly pivot or constantly improve and better whatever you're doing. And I think that's where Steve and I did a really good job. We were both like, oh, okay, we need to, the studio, the glaze room needs to change because it's a slightly better feng shui for everyone. So let's change the whole glaze room. Oh, the next year, let's change it again and switch everything around. So I think constantly being able to change and pivot would be, I think, a
Yeah, big one.
pretty big one.
cool. What is the next big thing that you're trying to accomplish? So if you could accomplish one thing in the next year, what would it be?
I think a big part of why we wanted to have the studio was because we wanted to make artwork ourselves. And what we've found in the last year or two is we've been able to carve out a little more time for ourselves to work on our own artwork. And I feel like that's become, I know for me, I think for Anna as well, an exciting new sort of path to explore is being an artist again instead of focusing on being the entrepreneur business person.
Which is nice because I feel as we are stepping back into doing our own work, it's helping us kind of relate again to our students and the people in our studio because we're doing the same thing that they're doing. We're getting back into doing our own work and
Yeah, exploring again.
yeah, experimenting and doing those things.
And you talked about students, you talked about classes, and you talked about community. Are there upcoming events over the next 6 months that people should know about?
Mm.
We do a back parking lot event called Merritt Fest, and it's in around November. We don't have our dates concrete yet, but we have about 50 ceramic artists that will come and showcase their work, and people can come and check it out and purchase their work if they like. But it's a really great kind of fun fun event where not only just our Merritt Ceramics community, but like all of kind of anyone in the Bay, ceramic artists, bringing all the different studios together in a sense, come together. And if you want to showcase your work, you can. So I think it's a really cool way to see a lot of different types of work too.
And you talked before about events that you do on Tuesdays. Are there any other regular recurring events that sort of someone listens to this a year from now that would likely still be going on?
Yeah, we offer now we've shifted from Tuesdays to Fridays. So we'll do a first Friday event that's it's I think it's $20 to attend, but you have a similar approach where you can make something out of clay for the afternoon and come back in a few weeks and pick it up and it's all fired and it's like a nice little ceramic thing that you've made during that day. And we also do a recurring class on Friday evenings where it's like you mentioned, those kind of like good date night activities, like where we'll get people, each group every Friday is a new group and they'll make something on the pottery wheel, see how it goes. Most of them have never done the wheel before, so it's like a fun evening.
It's like a nice taste test
Yeah.
if you're interested in taking a 6-week course, which is also what we offer 6-week courses. So you learn everything from taking the clay out of the bag itself all the way to learning how to glaze your own work. So we have a try it out if you like. And then if you really get hooked, you can take a 6-week course.
Oh, no, and I'm glad you brought that up because I want to dig into that for a second. So the Friday night event is come in and try it out, but ultimately you're trying to lead them into the 6-week course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is the Friday night free or do you have to pay for that?
you do have to pay for it.
Okay.
Our first Friday event is $20, and you still get to make something and it will go into the kiln and be fired and
Yeah.
everything. And then the intro to wheel class that occurs every Friday is $85.
Okay.
And you'll have 2 hours with an instructor and you'll learn all the steps of throwing on the wheel. And generally you'll make about 1 to 2 pieces. And then those will also be fired and glazed in the studio and then can be picked up a couple weeks later.
And so this is such a great point because I think a lot of businesses sort of struggle with this, like how to attract customers, how to get them to pay for the first thing, which may be introductory, and then how to get them to pay for your main thing, and then how to get them to come back. And you guys seem to have done a pretty good job of that, right? How did you conceive that? Did someone give you advice to do that? Did you come up with that on your own? And how's it worked?
I think I don't know if we definitely didn't have like a strategy. That's not really in our
Wheelhouse.
but in terms of we know that we want the instruction for students to be like bite-sized amounts so that because there's so much information and steps that we want it to be approachable and understandable. And then we also so it's like good instruction, a good structure to our classes, and also just making sure that we give a very welcoming energy to let people know that they can come in and make mistakes. You don't have to come in
Yeah, we
and
want to
make
keep it
something.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be fun. So a place where they can really let loose and not be
So
judged.
it could do something fun. It doesn't have to end up in a museum.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. All right, well, why don't you tell me the high points of your journey?
I think for us, it's been one of the big things that I look back on is the how much the studio has grown and changed over time and how nice that feels where now we have something like over 100 members and on a weekend day you see this really cool energy in the studio and thinking back to this corner of a warehouse, it's oh, that's cool that this we have this space now that is now expanded to two commercial spaces that are next door to each other, connected by a doorway, and it's bustling oftentimes. So it feels good.
It's also cool to see people make friends in the studio and then to hear that they're hanging out together outside of the studio. I feel like sometimes we're like, oh,
Yeah.
we fostered that. I'm not going to take credit for that, but like we built a space where people can come together and then build actual lasting relationships is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is the definition of community. You brought in people that have a similar interest but didn't know each other, but then sort of developed a relationship outside of your space. That's awesome.
Yeah.
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 All right. Tell me some low points.
COVID.
The shop shutting down.
Yeah, I think of the supply shop, which was tough because for a while it was like, what do we put just the inventory part? We explored this new aspect of business, this whole retail supplies and inventory thing. And it was a commitment for sure. And then it was like acknowledging that it's not gonna be good to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, oh shoot, do now type of thing.
And do you feel like you gave that up at the right time? Because a lot of times it's to make those hard decisions sooner rather than later. Don't let them linger.
Yeah, I think it was really for sure hard to juggle that. Do we keep sticking it out to get more traction and wait to see how it goes? Or do we not do that because we are losing money? Like, how much more do we want to lose money?
Mhm.
Where we would then not be able to continue running like the studio as
Yeah.
well, because it's taking out of that. So for sure, I think having that decision was definitely a hard one.
Okay, cool. And what were some turning points?
I think similarly, that turning point of stepping back and going, oh, the space that was this supply shop could just be expanded studio space was a big, like, we went from this really low moment to this sort of really exciting opportunity to be like, oh, we get to develop more studio, which is something we grew to be comfortable with. So it was like, oh, this is going to be great. Especially once we got the green light to make a doorway between the two spaces that we had, was a really exciting, because then it felt like this connecting of these two kind of fragmented studio spaces.
Yeah, all became one big studio. Yeah.
How big is your studio?
That's a good question.
I think it's
6,000?
6,000 square
Oh,
feet.
nice. It's good size. Okay, so we like to end our interviews with the lightning round. Okay, so these are just quick questions with one or two word answers. All right. So each of you can answer. All right. Carry on or checked baggage?
Carry on.
Carry on.
All right. Early riser or night owl?
Neither.
Now I'm an early bird.
Favorite cereal?
Shit.
Oh.
I'd say frosted mini wheats.
Oh.
That's what
You
I
stumped me.
said.
Granola.
Granola. Okay.
Oh, that counts.
All right.
It's good.
Favorite place to take the baby?
Oh.
Lake Merritt.
Okay. And convenience or value?
Value.
Value.
Okay. Cool. And that's the end of the lightning round. Thanks so much. And so we'll end with Stephen. I know you have an infamous relative. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. My great uncle is Jack Ruby, who a lot of younger people aren't familiar with the name, but everyone knows JFK got assassinated and they pinned it on the guy Lee Harvey Oswald, who got shot and killed in jail or going to and from jail. And Jack Ruby was the one that shot him on camera. My dad has crazy stories to tell because he was in high school, I think, at the time, where they'd get whatever it's called chauffeured by police for months after because people would camp out their house. When I was in high school, all the kids, all 1 year, they all learn about JFK. For a couple of years, it was like all these kids are running up to me, oh, making fun of you, you're a murderer. So yeah, I don't think people really believe that it is real in terms of my family connection. I don't feel any inclination to be rash
Yeah.
as my great uncle.
Yeah.
for the record.
Are there family stories about that?
Somewhat. I wished I had heard more because when I was learning about it, that's what I did. Go to my dad, tell
Mhm.
me, give me the scoop here. And I guess what happened was my grandpa and his brother Jack didn't weren't as close over the years. They didn't live in the same city, and so as a result, my dad only met him a handful of times, and he was pretty young. So
Mhm.
I didn't get as much good juicy gossip as I would have wished.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you for that story.
Yeah.
And so, in closing, tell the listeners how they can find you, your physical address, your social media handles, your website, any way they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can find us at www.merrittceramics.com. Merritt, two R's and two T's. Our Instagram is also Merritt Ceramics. Our address is 1823 Park Boulevard, Oakland, California.